You know, every single one of us is here because of this microscopic, incredibly high-stakes sorting process that happens constantly. It's a ridiculously precise system for passing down our genetic code. But sometimes there's a glitch in that system, just one little sorting error. So today, we're going to look at what happens when that fundamental process goes wrong.
All right, let's just jump right in with the central question. Our genetic blueprint, as we all know, is written across 46 chromosomes, all neatly arranged in 23 pairs. I mean, that number basically defines our species. So how in the world is it even possible for someone to end up with 47?
Well, the answer is actually hiding in plain sight, right inside this visual map of our genes called a karyotype. A karyotype takes all of an individual's chromosomes and lines them up into their matched pairs. But as you can see here, sometimes a pair isn't a pair at all. Look closely at chromosome 21. There are 3 copies instead of 2. That's it. That's where the 47th chromosome comes from. So how does an error like this even happen in the first place?
To understand the error, we first have to understand the rules of the game. And the whole thing hinges on a very special type of cell division called meiosis. This is the biological machine responsible for creating sperm and egg cells, and its #1 job is to get the chromosome count exactly right.
So what exactly is meiosis? Just think of it as the great halving process. It takes one cell with the full set of 46 chromosomes and, through a couple of divisions, produces 4 specialized cells, sperm or eggs, that each have just 23 chromosomes. We call these haploid gametes. And this halving is absolutely critical, right? Because when a sperm with 23 chromosomes and an egg with 23 chromosomes combine, they bring that number right back to the magic number 46.
It's basically a 2-step dance. In the first round, meiosis 1, the cell separates its homologous pairs. That's the one chromosome you got from your mom and the one from your dad for each of the 23 pairs. Then, in meiosis 2, it takes those 2 new cells and separates the sister chromatids. Those are the identical copies of each chromosome. If everything goes according to plan, the result is 4 haploid cells, each with 23 single chromosomes, all ready for fertilization.
But what happens when that perfectly choreographed dance stumbles? What if the cellular machinery that's supposed to pull those chromosomes apart makes a mistake during one of those crucial splits?
Well, the biological term for this critical error is non-disjunction. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it literally just means not coming apart. It's when the little fibers that are supposed to grab the chromosomes and pull them to opposite ends of the cell just fail to do their job correctly.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. The timing of this mistake changes everything. If non-disjunction happens early, during that first division, meiosis 1, the error cascades down. All 4 of the final gametes will be abnormal. 2 will have an extra chromosome, and 2 will be missing one. But if the mistake happens later in meiosis 2, the damage is more contained. You actually end up with 2 perfectly normal gametes, and only 2 that are abnormal.
So now we have a gamete, a sperm or an egg, with the wrong number of chromosomes. It's carrying either 1 too many or 1 too few. What happens when that abnormal cell goes on to participate in fertilization?
Instead of the correct 23 chromosomes, an abnormal gamete might end up with 24. It's carrying a single extra piece of genetic material, a little stowaway that is going to change everything that happens next. The math is really simple, but the result is profound. When an abnormal gamete with 24 chromosomes fuses with a normal gamete with 23, the resulting zygote, the very first cell of a new individual, doesn't have 46 chromosomes. It starts its life with 47.
This condition, having 3 copies of a particular chromosome instead of the usual 2, is called a trisomy. And if that extra chromosome happens to be number 21, it results in trisomy 21, which you probably know as Down syndrome. And just like that, we're right back to that karyotype we saw at the very beginning. The mystery is solved.
But here's the thing. Non-disjunction isn't limited to chromosome 21. It can happen with any of the 23 pairs. And that raises a really interesting question. We typically only see individuals living with trisomies of a few specific chromosomes, like 13, 18, 21, or the sex chromosomes. So why is that?
Well, it turns out size really matters. Chromosomes are packed with genes, and the bigger the chromosome, the more genetic information it's carrying. An extra copy of a huge chromosome, like chromosome 1, creates such a massive genetic imbalance that it's almost always lethal very early in development. Chromosome 21, on the other hand, is one of our smallest, which is a big reason why a trisomy there is survivable.
But this brings up a fascinating biological puzzle. The X chromosome is actually quite large, and it's packed with important genes.
So why are conditions with extra X chromosomes, like XXY syndrome, not only survivable, but often much less severe than an extra copy of a similarly sized autosome?
The answer is this unbelievably elegant process called X inactivation. In mammals that have more than one X chromosome, the cell essentially just picks one of the X's and switches it off, condensing it into this tiny, inactive bundle called a bar body. This process naturally balances the gene dose between biological males and females, and it also provides a super convenient way to silence an extra X chromosome if one happens to be there because of non-disjunction.
And for a perfect real-world example of this, just look at a calico cat. A calico's coat is literally a living map of X inactivation in action. See, the gene for fur color in cats is on the X chromosome. So in a female cat who has one X for orange fur and another for black, each cell randomly shuts one of them down. If the black X gets silenced, you get a patch of orange fur. If the orange X is silenced, you get a patch of black. It's this beautiful, visible result of a fundamental genetic process.
So, after this whole journey through cellular sorting, critical errors, and these elegant biological solutions, what's the big picture? What does all this really tell us about our genetic blueprint?
It really boils down to this. Our genetic instructions are not just about the content of the code, but also about the quantity. The dosage matters. There's a very delicate balance that has to be maintained, and when that balance is thrown off by just a single extra chromosome, the consequences can be absolutely profound.
Ultimately, this whole journey reveals a core paradox of life itself. Our genetic code has these incredible safeguards, like X inactivation, that show just how resilient it is. And yet, it's so finely tuned that a single sorting error, just one extra chromosome, can completely reshape an individual's entire existence. It really leaves you with a fascinating thought. How can a system be so robust and yet so fragile, all at the same time?